God himself describes two creatures in Job 40 and 41, Behemoth and Leviathan. God calls Behemoth the chief of all his creations, the grandest, most colossal land creature he ever made. God says Behemoth is unapproachable by anyone but his maker. For reasons described in this video, we believe a sauropod dinosaur fits Behemoth's description perfectly. When it comes to Leviathan, God says on earth there is nothing like him, which is made without fear, and he beholds every high thing. He is king over all the children of pride. The Hebrew for Leviathan means sea monster, dragon, or wreathed animal, like a serpent or a crocodile. As we travel through God's description of Leviathan in Job 41, we believe you'll see just how perfectly it fits a Dinosuchus, a 7-ton, 35-foot dinosaur-eating monster with teeth the size of bananas. God says this creature feared nothing and was impervious to all of man's weapons: harpoons, fishing spears, swords, spears, darts, javelins, arrows, or slingstones. Nothing could harm this monster. When God describes these creatures, he does so with real anatomy that matches real creatures, creatures that we can identify today. In fact, the Bible describes 14 characteristics about Behemoth that perfectly match a sauropod dinosaur, saying it was the largest creature to ever walk the earth, had a tail that swayed like a cedar tree, legs like tubes of bronze, ribs that were fully ossified like bars of iron, and capable of standing in a raging river while taking a drink. Leviathan's description is just as fitting, with 27 features that match a Dinosuchus. God even says it had scales or shields that were aligned in rows, tightly sealed, and inseparably interconnected. These creatures were not mythical. Would it make any sense for God to use imaginary creatures to change Job's mind and heart? Like, hey Job, let me show you I'm the creator by describing some scary imaginary creatures to you. God had to be describing real animals because it was this very experience that shifted Job's understanding about God's position as the creator of all life. God was clear that this creature was unapproachable by man. Job 41 states, "Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook, or snare his tongue with a line which you lower? Can you put a reed through his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will Leviathan make many supplications to you? Will he speak softly to you? Will he make a covenant with you? Will you take him as a servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird, or will you leash him for your maidens? Will your companions make a banquet of him? Will they apportion him among the merchants?" Psalms 104 even says that Leviathan literally played in the shipping lanes, having no fear of what man or his vessels could do. There is no metaphor being used here. This animal played in a real seaway where there were real ships. We also have indication that Leviathan dwelled in the swamplands. His undersides are like sharp potsherds. He spreads pointed marks in the mire. The underside of a Dinosuchus and his feet would absolutely do this, just like alligators do today. Dinosuchus was very similar to alligators and crocodiles we see today, although he was about 3 times larger than alligators and twice the size of the largest crocs. Just like alligators, Dinosuchus had a hornback shield system on its back. Hornbacks on alligators today have 15 rows of 6 large plates and another 5 rows of 3 smaller plates near the rear. These bony plates, called scutes, are closely knit together with connective tissues, just like the Bible says about Leviathan. Next, we have a very interesting description about Leviathan's behavior. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. Could this be describing the Dinosuchus water dance? Alligators today perform the water dance during mating season by making loud, very low-pitched vocalizations to attract mates. The vibrations cause the water around the gator to shoot up above the surface like an array of tiny, bubbling fountains. The words, "he makes the deep boil like a pot," could hardly fit this unique behavior more accurately. God also says this creature could move quickly in the water, stating, "He leaves a shining wake behind him." One would think the deep had white hair. Finally, we have fire breathing. Yes, fire breathing, like a dragon. Job says, "His sneezings flashed forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning." Out of his mouth go burning lights, sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke goes out of his nostrils, as from a boiling pot, and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame goes out of his mouth. Here we have light, burning, sparks, smoke, and flame coming out of his nostrils and mouth. Before dismissing this as impossible for some alligator-like creature, consider the electric eel, bombardier beetle, and firefly. God made electric eels capable of generating over 600 volts of electricity in short, intense bursts. They come from specialized tissues designed to generate and direct electrical current. The bombardier beetle has 2 chambers with different chemicals that, when mixed, eject a 212-degree spray at 22 miles per hour out of nozzles that the beetle can actually aim. These chambers and nozzles have special coatings to withstand the toxic chemicals, high temperatures, and elevated pressures of the beetle's explosive discharge. Fireflies produce light in a similar way to how a glow stick works. The light results from a catalyzed and controlled chemical reaction called bioluminescence. If God can create animals that zap, blast, and glow, then he can make animals that breathe fire.